The Constitutional Court will hold a special sitting in honour of Justice Edwin Cameron this morning. He's stepping down after 25 years as a judge. Cameron began serving at the Constitutional Court in January 2009. For decades, he's been championing the rights of gay and lesbian people and fighting denialism and discrimination associated with HIV/AIDS. Cameron was one of the first public figures to disclose his HIV status. SABC reporter Chriselda Lewis filed this report.
And the same applies to laws that criminalize people.
He has been described as a jurist of the highest order and one of the greatest legal minds of his time. Well known for some of his judgments on free speech and defamation,
the party can instruct its members.
In a 2015 DA versus ANC case, Cameron's majority judgment dismissed the governing party's claim against the opposition for stating in a bulk SMS that the former public protector's report shows how former President Jacob Zuma stole taxpayers' money to build his Nkandla home.
He has left behind this enormous body of work, something like 400 judgments overall in which he has participated. Someone like Judge Cameron has been an exceptional legal scholar, an accomplished legal writer, and a judge.
We are angry because we are not yet hearing enough truth about AIDS.
Cameron was an outspoken critic of then-President Thabo Mbeki's AIDS denialist policies. In 1999, former President Mandela is said to have considered appointing Cameron to the Constitutional Court. His deputy Mbeki allegedly blocked the appointment, citing a need for more diversity.
When the JSC came back to interview the candidates for appointment to the Constitutional Court, we had 5 women before the JSC. And you know what Edwin did? So selflessly, he just stepped back and gave those women an opportunity.
More accolades from his successor as director at the AIDS Law Project at the end of 1994.
I took over from him. And I remember him coming to the office saying, Zaki, I want to ask you a question. Do you think I should accept an appointment as an acting judge from Nelson Mandela? I didn't think twice, because his knowledge of the Constitution and of constitutional law, even at the time when we didn't have a constitution, was phenomenal.
He created and then built support for a charter on HIV and AIDS and human rights in South Africa. And he went to all of the politicians. It was signed by Nelson Mandela, it was signed by Chris Hani, it was signed by Dr. Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So right from the very beginning, he was telling people we have to respond to HIV in a way which respects rights.
The flame of democracy lit to dispel the darkness of our past. As it continues to burn at the highest court in the land, Justice Edwin Cameron bows out. An HIV, AIDS and gay rights activist, his quest for justice and human rights seen as a major contribution. Chriselda Lewis, SABC News, at the Constitutional Court in Johannesburg.
Well, she packaged that piece yesterday. Today, she's at the Constitutional Court for that celebration, and we cross to her live now, Chriselda Lewis. A very good morning to you, Chriselda. What can you tell us this morning?
Well, a very good morning to you once again, Desiree, and certainly here today at 10 o'clock this morning, here at the Constitutional Court, a farewell to some have described as one of the most prolific jurists in South Africa. Justice Edwin Cameron is retiring. He, of course, being a judge for 25 years now, and of course joining the Constitutional Court in 2009. And here today, his colleagues, his friends, as well as those who've shared some time with him, will be saying goodbye to him. He will be delivering his final judgment here at the Constitutional Court this morning, before there's, of course, that special sitting where we understand he will also say his final words. And just looking at a glimpse behind me here of those who are expected to be in attendance, as the Speaker of the National Assembly, some of his colleagues in the National Prosecuting Authority, and quite a number of other individuals from the legal fraternity with whom he has sat on the bench with. I think over the past couple of hours, as I indicated a bit earlier on during our crossing to Morning Live, was that in the number of people that we have spoken to, they spoke about a man who served with diligence in the judiciary in South Africa, and they say that will be dearly missed as Justice Edwin Cameron hangs up his robe, and of course now the judiciary will be saying goodbye to him today. Let's speak to someone who has shared very special moments with Justice Edwin Cameron, and she's been a long-serving personal assistant to Justice Cameron. Elizabeth Moloto joins me this morning. Elizabeth, thank you very much for your time. We've really been going around looking to speak to individuals who will tell us about the more personal aspects of Justice Cameron. We know about his great work within the judiciary, but you sat with him on an almost everyday basis. Talk to us a bit about the kind of man that you have come to know.
Justice Cameron, all I can say is that he's very kind, he's very humbled, he understands people, problems, he's helped so many people, and he's helped me a lot. He's been there for me through thick and thin. And I just want to thank him. I want to thank him for his humility, for his peace. You know, I'm going to carry that with you wherever I go. All the things that he did for me, all the things that he did for other people, it was an example for me to know how to live. I really don't know how I can explain the things that he's done to me and other people, but I just want to thank him. I want to thank him for inviting me into his life, and inviting me into his space. It was a beautiful space. It was a peaceful space. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm just getting so emotional when I think about the kind of person he is. He's one of a kind. He's one of a kind.
Elizabeth, I hear you were equally emotional yesterday when there was a special, luncheon that had been put together to honor him. Talk to me about what you will miss most about Justice Cameron. I know that many people speak about his works, but you would know best, having sat with him in an office on a daily basis, what you would miss most about this man who's being sent off today.
What I will miss most about Judge is the golden hugs that he will give me every morning. He will come in, even before he leaves, he will give me a hug. And I will also miss the time that we had lunch together. You know, he will share his lunch with me. You know, it's something that most people don't get from their bosses. It's priceless. Yeah.
So your final words to him, of course, for his role that he's played with you?
Yeah, I just want to wish him all the best. I know that I will see him a lot, but he has left with a piece of me. It's like a piece of me has left with him, or is going to leave with him. And he's also left a piece of him with me. It's, the connection that I cannot explain. It's just unbelievable.
Elizabeth, we want to thank you very much for your time this morning and speaking to us, someone who's shared hours, thousands and thousands of hours with this man who's been described as a diligent jurist, Justice Edwin Cameron, who is, of course, hanging up his robe today after 25 years as a judge, and, of course, being here at the Constitutional Court since 2009. Those are just some of the personal stories, Desiree, that we will be bringing to you, and we thought it would be quite important, to speak to some of those who shared friendship with him and sat very close to him to get those personal personal stories about the kind of man who is being said goodbye to in the judiciary today. But a bit later on, of course, we'll speak to some of his colleagues, those who sat with him on the bench as well, about the kind of man he was. And some of those that we spoke to a couple of hours ago have been saying that he conducted his work with diligence, and every time that he handed down a judgment, he would always take into account the personal aspects of himself in some of those judgments that he had handed down. His final one at 10 o'clock this morning, and I understand having contributed towards 400 judgments during his tenure. So certainly a man who will leave quite a lot for the judiciary as he hangs up his robe.
What a phenomenal legacy he'll be leaving behind. Of course, there's so much you can say about Justice Edwin Cameron, but what we want to ask you today, and we're asking you to interact with us on social media, is how you think he impacted the conversation around HIV/AIDS. Do you think he added any value at all? Let us know at the agenda _SABC.